Friends, we kick off in a new series that looks very much like a video game. And Jonathan and I have been working on this, honestly, since December. And we're very excited. There's going to be different things each week. But this series is about leveling up. And you do that in video games. You get to the next level. In fact, I showed my Switch, my Nintendo, mine. Yes, I paid for it. It is not mine. My children, which I think I found in Lily Grace's bed, not her bedroom, in the bed. But that's a different story. But Will Simonon was telling me about Mario and a new one out, and I did not know this, but he was telling me about the whole new world. Anyway, there's different levels, and you keep playing and you level up. But we see video games, and really any video game. You see the title screen come across, and there's music, and maybe a little bit of the flashing lights. But then nothing begins until you do what? You have to press start, right? Begin, start. Some of us, we grew up with Pac-Man, right? The little joystick that is still a great game, by the way. And you're moving, but you can't go until you press the start button. Pac-Man, Super Mario Brothers, Sonic the Hedgehog. My kids are into Minecraft and Fortnite and shenanigans like that, but it doesn't matter, whatever the game is. If you don't press start, nothing happens. The music will play, but the game itself won't play. And faith works the same way. You can sit in church for years. You can own a Bible in 5 different translations. You can even grow up in a Christian home or attend a Christian school. But if you don't decide to step in, nothing truly changes. Joshua 24, the 2 verses we read, is a press start moment. Israel has just arrived in the promised land. They've seen God's power. The Red Sea was parted, manna from heaven. Jericho's walls are falling down. But now Joshua is standing up in Shechem. And he says, choose for yourself this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. This is the moment where God is saying, are you ready to play? Are you ready to start your story with me? Now, I don't want us to skip over something important because Joshua 24 verses 14 and 15, while you can find that verse pretty much anywhere in Hobby Lobby, they're going to have some decorations for you. But it doesn't happen in a vacuum. The where and when of this moment matters just as much as what is being said. Joshua gathers the people of this holy place in Shechem. And if we skim past that, we miss the powerful because it's not just a dot on the map. It's actually a sacred landmark, a place that is thick with spiritual memory. In fact, centuries earlier, in Genesis chapter 12, God calls Abraham, who was then Abram, out of his calls him out of the predictable life. Because he had wandered into a strange land with nothing but a promise in his pocket. But where did he stop? In Shechem. And in this verse, it becomes the first altar. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring, I will give you this land. So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. This is the first moment that God says, that he is saying, God, my life is yours. Take my life. And then again, generations later in Genesis 35, Jacob, which is Abraham's grandson, he comes back to the same area, wrestling with God and finally surrendering stubbornness. But what did he do at Shechem? In Genesis 35, verse 4, it says this, so they gave Jacob all the foreign gods they had and the rings in their ears, and Jacob buried them under the oak at Shechem. Jacob is literally burying the idols of his family in the dirt. He said, no more distractions. We will serve God. And then we fast forward to this passage in Joshua 24. The people of Israel are standing in the exact same spot of Abraham, the same spot of Jacob, where Abraham said yes, where Jacob buried the idols, and now where Joshua is saying, here we are again. And it's time for us to decide. The opening credits have come up. The music is playing. This is where we have to press start. Shechem is a threshold moment, a place where history meets decision. I imagine the people standing there, dusty from a day's journey, looking around the hills at Canaan behind them and realizing our grandparents told us stories about this place. And now it's our turn to live them out. So today, this sanctuary may be your Shechem. Some of you are literally standing in the place where your grandparents once prayed. Some of you may be holding on to family idols or habits, pride, habits that need to be buried. And some of us, we're at a crossroads, needing to decide, who will I serve? What will my story tell? Joshua doesn't call this a casual decision. He calls them into this covenant moment on holy ground, soaked with memory and promise. And then we get to the point where we have to decide your direction. Joshua 24 verse 15 says, choose for yourself this day. He doesn't mince his words. He looks over the entire nation, millions of people, and he says, choose. Choose for yourself this day whom you will serve. Not tomorrow, not when life slows down, because we all need to laugh at that statement, but today. And faith is always a choice. Joshua is calling out of us something we all feel deep down. Faith is not automatic. You don't get faith because you sat in church with your grandparents. You don't get faith because you've heard all the stories, but you've never stepped into the story. You can float through life hoping you just drift into faith. But Joshua is telling us that drifting is not deciding. Even Jesus said this in Luke chapter 9, verse 23. He says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. Friends, faith isn't passive. It isn't inherited. It isn't accidental. It's personal and intentional. And we must decide. Joshua doesn't say, choose eventually. He says, choose this day. Because we all think we have more time than we actually do. I'll start reading my Bible when things settle down a little bit. We'll start praying as a family when life is less busy. I'll get serious about God after I graduate, or after I get married, or retire. But you and I both know life never slows down. If we don't choose this day, if we don't choose now, we often don't choose at all. Joshua is saying, don't miss this. This is the day to choose your direction, and your direction determines your story. He frames it as a story question. He even says, if serving the Lord seems undesirable, then choose. Whether the gods of your ancestors or the gods of the Amorites. Basically, he's saying, whatever you choose, this will write the story of you and your household, of your life and the people around you. He's saying, choose God, because your story becomes a legacy of hope and faith and love. Or you could choose idols, and your story drifts towards emptiness and regret. Friends, this may feel like a family story, as for you and your household, but this is for everyone. Those of us who find ourselves as the younger side of singles, the choices you make today will set the trajectory for the next decade. Who you date, how you spend your time, what habits you build. These are the seeds that grow into stories. But parents, I'll be honest, your kids are reading your life as the first Bible they will ever see. And then our widows, retirees are finding themselves as empty nesters. Your direction still writes your legacy. There are grandkids, neighbors, church family members who will follow the trail that you will leave. I once visited a cemetery, and it wasn't too hard as it was literally across the street from my house. But I noticed that there were 2 headstones side by side, almost like they were family, meant to be together. They were that close. And one simply said, "She loved the Lord." And the other just had a name and dates. Both individuals lived and died, but only one left to tell a story. What story do you want your life, your household to tell? Joshua isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for a decision. So start today with a simple prayer. Lord, I choose you today. Make an intentional move. Read 1 chapter. Pray with 1 friend. Take 1 step to align your home with God. I love what Proverbs chapter 3 verse 6 says. It says, "In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." The direction of your life determines, changes, even leads others the moment you decide to follow after him. So Joshua says first, decide your direction. But he doesn't stop there, because deciding to follow God is only half the work. If you're going to move forward, if you're going to press play, you then have to get into the game. You have to keep going. You have to leave some things behind. So decide your direction and then delete your distractions. Did you catch that in the verses that were read today? He said, throw away the gods of your ancestors. He doesn't say just choose God. He says throw the other gods away. In other words, we can't level up in our faith. We can't level up spiritually if we are still being weighed down by the things that pull us away from God. We have so many idols in our world today, and they look different. They're different from the ancestral or the cultural idols back in the day, but our modern idols are easily achievement. When success and work at school, either way, defines your worth more than God does. There's the idol of appearance, when image and fitness matter more than character and the working of God in you. Or entertainment, when screens and streaming take up all of our time and energy. Or relationships, when we rely on a person to fulfill only what God can. And then there's the idol of comfort, when convenience and preference outweigh obedience to God. Anything can become an idol if it competes with God for your heart. And Joshua said, you can't add God on top of the idols we already have. You've got to throw the others away. Friends, sometimes spiritual growth isn't about adding more. It's about removing what doesn't belong. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 says, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. But do you notice what he says? He doesn't just say sin. This passage says everything that hinders us. Some distractions aren't sinful. They're just stealing your focus. Some habits and apps and shows and relationships, they keep you from fully chasing God's best for you. If you want to press start in your spiritual faith journey, if you want to take the next step, we have to delete what's holding us back. Think about way back when phones didn't have access to the cloud and you would put too many pictures on it and it said you couldn't take any more. Does anybody remember when they did that? Maybe I just took too many pictures. But you'd have to go delete some or make memory. God can't fill a life that's already full of distractions. Joshua is saying to Israel and to us, clean it out, make room, bury the idols. This step is deeply personal. Nobody can do it for you. Jacob literally buried, like physically dug in the dirt and buried the family idols in Shechem. And Joshua is echoing that here. So while we take that one step forward, as we decide our direction, we also need to take a step to delete the distractions. Maybe this is a fast for social media for a few days. Clear your TV, your phone schedule, and make room for prayer. Let go of a habit or an idol that's competing with God. Because you can't serve God with your whole heart if your heart is divided. So first, Joshua tells us, decide your direction. Then he says, delete your distractions. And because I am a fan of alliteration, the third point is declare your devotion. Joshua 24 verse 15 says, but as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Joshua's challenge ends with one of the most famous declarations in all of Scripture. It's short, it's bold, but it's public. It's for others to know and see the work of God. He doesn't whisper his choice, he declares it. He's not saying, well, I feel this way inside. He's saying, this is how my life will look. And anyone watching will know where I stand. Romans chapter 10 verse 9 says, if you declare with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe with your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Faith starts in the heart. But friends, it shows up in public. When we choose God, it changes the way we talk, the way we treat people, the way we make decisions, way the story our household tells. Even if you're alone at home, your devotion can impact neighbors, co-workers, friends, and generations to come behind you. Joshua's statement isn't about himself. It's not what I'm going to do. It's for me and my household. He is setting the tone for all the people around him. And here's the truth. Every family, every home, every individual is telling a story, whether we realize it or not. Your faith, the faith you live out, spills over into the people in your life. Parents, your declaration of what you're going to do creates an environment where your kids grow up in. What you celebrate is what they will choose. Our young adults, your declaration sets the foundation for your friendships, dating life, future family legacies. For those that find themselves on the other side of young adult, your devotion speaks volumes. You are an example to your neighbors, to your kids and grandkids, and the church family that is watching. Joshua's statement invites every one of us to say, Lord, I will serve you, and my life will show it. And I believe what Joshua calls for is a public commitment. And we should. He challenges us with this idea of a mission statement. And y'all, I challenge you. I challenge you to get together with those in your home or even what you are devoted to and write a one-sentence statement. I would love for it to be, the Smiths are a family that prays first and loves well. Or in this house, we forgive quickly and serve God faithfully. Put it on your fridge, write it where you can see it, make it the wallpaper of your phone. If you need help, I can give you a teenager that knows how to do that. But let it be known where you see it. Write your own statement. My life belongs to Christ, and I will live with courage and love. If you don't have people in your home, share it with a trusted friend, a small group, someone with accountability. And maybe today, as we show this act of communion, which we will partake in just a few moments, is where we physically declare, I belong to Jesus. His body and blood are my life. Friends, I imagine Joshua standing at Shechem with a nation in front of him, and he's essentially drawing a line in the sand. And he says, you can keep chasing the old gods. You can stay behind this line and stay right there. Or you can step across the line and join me in serving the Lord. And as he steps forward, he says, and as for me and as for my household, we're taking that next step. We will serve the Lord. Some of you today, you need to step across that line. You need to move from drifting to deciding that you're going to follow after God. Some of us, we need to move from the distractions, the things that honestly hold us back, to devotion. And we need to cross that line and press start in that area of our faith. And some of us, we need to move from a private belief where it's my personal to a public faith where everyone knows that you follow after God. Communion can be our Shechem moment. We can come to the table and say, I've chosen Christ. My life is His. You can come and kneel at the altar and say, Lord, I need you to weave inside of me a mission and not this memory. Maybe today your act of devotion is simply walking forward to receive the bread and the cup and simply saying, Lord, as for me, I will serve you. And let me take it to my home. Let me take it to my work. Let me take it to the people that are around me. Joshua gave the people a choice, and we face the same choice today. Maybe you are deciding your direction. Who will I serve? Maybe you need to delete your distractions. What idols have to go? Or maybe you need to declare your devotion. Will your life show that God is in it? So friends, here's the invitation. Choose today. Don't wait. Step across the line, press start, and live out that calling that as for me, as for my household, we will serve the Lord. This is the mission statement for his life. It is clear, simple declaration of what he and his home are about. Gather your family, gather the people, and what do we want our home to be like? What do we want to be known for? Write that sentence, make it visible. Maybe your life as a young adult tells a story. What do you want people to see about your faith? And it becomes your compass. And then there's others. What is going to be the legacy you leave to those coming up behind you? Joshua didn't make this private. The line in the sand calls all of us to make a public profession of faith. So when we come to communion, it's not just a ritual that's meant to get us all to stand up. But I believe what we're doing is we're stepping across the line of faith again. We're pressing start and we're saying, God, I will serve you. I will serve you. So as you come today in just a few moments, come as an act of devotion. Come as a sign of surrender. And come as a declaration in your heart. Whisper, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.